Spoilers. Why'd it have to be spoilers, Glenn?
Oh, they spoil me so.
Well, guess what? Don't worry, because this podcast contains spoilers for Raiders of the Lost Ark, so if you haven't seen it for some reason, don't watch it. You have been warned!
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to KFR News Radio. This is your host, Benjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Me Gusto.
That's a me.
Me gusto.
I'm me gusto, Benjamin Button. Benjamin.
I mean, we always end up doing some weird accent after.
Me too.
After
It's honestly terrible.
Yeah.
We should just get... How are you? How are
Hey,
you today?
I am.
You are? You are that?
Oh,
you are.
How are you, my lovely sweet coconut?
I also am.
I love it.
We are both
We are.
ams. We ares and we ams. What movies have you seen this past week that you want to discuss?
Joke's on you. I haven't seen a total of jack anything.
I forgot that you had told me that. Oh.
So the Boys season 2 came out, and me and my roommate have kind of been knocking that out. We I think there was 3 episodes, and one just recently came out, so we got 4 episodes deep. That was kind of a accidental reference to the show too, because there's a character called the Deep. A fantastic show so far. I'm loving it. But other than that, I've just been editing for a lot of other things that I won't plug here because there's no business for that. But Michael,
Glenn.
I know you've been seeing some things.
Yeah, not as much as I normally do. It's still 4 movies. Still, I have to remind myself a lot for most people. The first one I watched is The New Mutants, the what we thought was a indefinitely shelved X-Men movie
For
with
sure.
Anya Taylor-Joy, Maisie, what's her face from
Maisie
Game
Williams.
of Thrones. Maisie, is it Williams?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, and other people who the guy from Stranger Things. I'm terrible with names right now. Mainly because
and then there's Blue Hunt, I think her name was.
yeah, Blue Hunt, she's in it. Overall, not a bad movie. It's not great. I don't see why they pushed it back, because pushing it back, honestly, is just gonna bring it a air around it that is gonna make people not want to see it. If they just released it like normal, it probably would have done better.
Yeah, was
especially
because
there was no pandemic.
Span?
Yeah, like I think 2018 was going to be the original release date. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember. And if they just released it without like creating this drama around it, it would have done fine.
Yeah.
Not a great movie, not a terrible movie. Maisie Williams is the best part of it, and like I'm not saying that just like out of pity. She's legitimately really good in it, and I really enjoyed her character's arc. And Anya Taylor-Joy, she was good in it, but I didn't like her character too much. That's probably on purpose, but it's not even like she's a good kind of antagonist. She's not always the antagonist, but she starts off as the antagonist.
Yeah.
And then it kind of transforms to there. But yeah, it's an okay movie. If you have the means to see it, it's not going to hurt you to see it if you just want to see a movie. But what will hurt you to see is the next movie I watched. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me about this. It's The Babysitter, a horror film by McG, with Samara Weaving, which is the only good part of the entire movie. Judah Lewis, Hannah Lee, Bella Thorne, Robbie Amell. There's a whole bunch of like Instagram people on there just for shits and gigs. And they're all terrible, including Bella Thorne, who is an actual actor, but is kind of not anymore. It's weird. Samara Weaving is legitimately the only good part of this, but she's not in it enough to make it worth it.
So is this like a movie that's been blown up because of all the people in it, or because like people genuinely think it's good, or
people genuinely think it's a fun movie, which I get. It's got too much cringe in it for me to find it fun.
Yeah.
I do get why people find it fun. So like I have no problem with people finding it fun, but I cringed way too much about like it was one of those movies that felt like a middle-aged man writing for a bunch of teenagers.
Okay.
Which I hate. Like fucking learn how kids talk. Don't just put in stereotypes of how kids talk. But yeah, so Caitlin wanted me to watch this. She was like, let's watch The Babysitter. It'll be fun. It looks fun. So we did. And I hated it. And I just didn't want to watch it. But then she said, oh, wait, that's not the movie I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch the sequel, The Babysitter Killer Queen. Mind you, she didn't like the first one, but she was already determined to watch the second one.
She was definitely invested.
So we spent over 3 hours watching the Babysitter series.
Rest in peace, my brother.
Yeah, the Babysitter Killer Queen is worse because it doesn't have Samara Weaving in it for the most part. She's in it a little bit, but not too much. And again, she's the best part of it. There's another guy in it whose name I'm forgetting. He's an Instagram star. Let me see if I can find his name real quick. But he was legitimately funny in it. What's his name? You would recognize him if you saw him, but I don't know if many people know his name. Andrew Batchelor, I think it is. Yeah, Andrew Batchelor. He's like a Instagram comedian, which I hate that that's even a thing, but he's definitely talented. It's just I don't like the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny in it. Samara Weaving's good in it, but it's just the same movie, but dumber somehow, and makes less sense somehow. But again, most people are probably going to find it fun, and that's completely fine. I just hated those 3 hours, and Caitlin and I almost got a divorce about it.
Finally.
No, that's not.
I know the kryptonite.
Have her make me watch bad movies. And then the last movie I watched this week, other than Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I had seen already, is a Polish film that was nominated alongside with Parasite for Best International Film in the Oscars this year. Of course, it lost to Parasite. But this one was really good. It's called Corpus Christi. It's about this guy who gets out of juvie on parole, which he's older than like 18. So I don't know if juvie is just what they call for like people under 25 or whatever in Poland. But they kept calling it juvie. But he gets out of prison essentially on parole and finds himself in a lie where he tells someone that he's a priest and then is too ashamed to admit to his lie, but then finds out that he's actually pretty good at being a priest. And it's rather interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a sad movie, but I highly suggest it. It's really good, really well acted.
If it's competing up against Parasite, then it's got to be somewhat good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the five. One of the four against Parasite, one of the five of all the international films. So that is Corpus Christi, a film by Jan Komasa. I'm assuming it's Jan and not Jan. I don't know enough about the Polish language to know for sure, but I'm assuming that. But that's all I watched this week. Glenn, do you have any news to discuss?
I do have a little bit of perspective on the news articles in these lifetimes.
Okay.
I was like stretching and I didn't know what I was saying for a second.
Just blacked out.
I came across a little article. Ant-Man 3 casts Lovecraft Country star reportedly as Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
And so that's Jonathan Majors.
Yeah,
so,
I love Jonathan Majors. He's one of my favorite up-and-coming actors.
I was looking at his IMDb. He kind of blew up in 2018-19.
Oh, yeah. He's in Last Black Man in San Francisco, which you still need to watch. And I just got for my birthday, so we're going to watch that at some point. And then he's also in a sci-fi movie, which I feel like didn't get much love, even though it kind of deserved it. Captive State, that's a pretty solid movie. And he's just commands the screen whenever he's on it. So he's also in The Five Bloods that we watched earlier this year. A really, really solid actor, and I'm excited to see what he does in the future because he's going to be great. He already is great, but he's going to be even greater.
He's going to be a nice little addition if it's confirmed. Obviously, it's been reported that he's in it, but we don't know if he's for sure Kang or not. I guess, but regardless, that'll be a nice little thing that we get to see in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Being Kang the Conqueror will be sick too.
Yeah.
Mainly because I know a little bit about Kang, but I don't know a lot. But seeing him as Kang would be fucking phenomenal, I'll be honest.
Yeah. You know better than me, so
yeah.
I just like the actor. I don't know if
Well,
how
regardless,
he's
I'm
gonna-
sure we're in for a little nice little treat there.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
I have no news. I was actually gonna pick that, but then I figured
Le gasp.
if that was the only news, might as well not do it. So, should we get into the review?
I think so.
All right, let's talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
For nearly 3,000 years, man has searched for the lost Ark of the Covenant.
The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. Not something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets.
Jones, do you realize what the Ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
The Ark, if it is their Eternis, then it is something that man was not meant to disturb.
It is protected by forces beyond imagination. It is desired above all treasures on earth by those who are good,
Trust me.
and those who are evil.
I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
In 1936, archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before Adolf Hitler's Nazis can obtain its awesome powers.
Ooh, yes. It is directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Lawrence Kasdan, story by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman. It stars Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, Ronald Lacey, John Rhys Davies, Alfred Molina, Wolf Collar, Anthony Higgins. There's a whole Denholm Elliott. There's a whole bunch of people.
A lot
in
of
this.
people in here.
A lot of people. At least one people is in this.
Mm-hmm.
And Glenn, we picked this. Well, Netflix Roulette picked it as one of three, but we selected it out of that three because you said you had not seen it all the way through.
Yes, it's true. I've
Did
seen
that memory change while you were watching it?
No, I've know for sure that I've seen a lot of parts of this movie, like huge scenes and stuff like that, big memes about it and all that, but I've never actually seen the movie in all of its fruition. So yeah, it was. Let's get to that show.
Let's get to it. What did you think? I mean, I could talk all day about. Well, I can't talk all day about this movie. That's a lie. I could talk all day about
We
movies
could talk
in
about
general.
an hour about this movie.
But yeah. So what do you think? With this being as big of a classic as it is, possibly, it's just barely under Star Wars for probably like the most famous franchise of all time.
Yes, I think this definitely lives up to one of the biggest classics out there. Not only seeing the movie through all of these outlets, but this would be one of those movies like Doctor Strangelove that I would go to the theaters if it was like in a classic thing, and I'd be like, I'd go see that for sure. Because all those moments that you do see through such memes and videos and stuff like that, you're actually watching it through that hype now because you're watching the whole thing. You're like, oh, I know this part's coming up. He's gonna fucking shoot the guy with the sword.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Why? Because
definitely.
he had food poisoning and he couldn't do the whole scene. Actually, it's pretty crazy. Like you read all these things, you read all the trivia, you watch all the things, and then watching it for the first time fully is like a whole different story. You're like, oh, dude, this is sick. Oh my god! And then a lot of it had me thinking about what they're gonna do with the new Uncharted movie. Not that that should even be a segue, but if it should be, they should take direct inspiration, literally almost not copy paste because that's kind of fucking plagiarism, but copy paste. Like that's what you want your movie to be like.
Yeah, definitely.
With a lot more charismatic characters like Uncharted.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. But yeah, dude, I love this movie. Harrison Ford's a handsome little bastard.
Oh, he is.
Dear God, what a hunk.
I would argue, and I don't know if this will get me any flack. I know people like are crazy about Star Wars more so than they are this. I would argue that this is Harrison Ford's most memorable role.
Yeah.
Mainly just because he is front and center.
He is the main character.
He is the main character. There's no Luke. There's no Leia. There's no Chewbacca. He is the front and center of the entire film, and it's some of his best work from that era. I mean, you could kind of tell with Star Wars when he was kind of getting tired of it, even up until the sequels, like Force Awakens and everything.
Yeah, he was playing the same character, and it was
playing the same character.
He's literally said it himself.
Yeah, and with less depth than this. There's more backstory here that through the other three. Have you seen the other two? We're not going to talk about 4.
I was going to say the only other one that I've seen is 4.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. So I'm going to make you watch Temple of Doom.
I was going to say that I have to make it a thing to myself to watch the rest of these movies.
Yeah,
now.
they're great. But he, you know. His character creates enough mystery about his backstory where you're interested in learning more about him every time.
Yeah.
And you learn more with each movie. And this one, you know, it's great. You know, with the character of Marion, you're like thinking of the backstory, like how did they meet? How did she end up in? I think it's Mongolia, where they just create this really great dynamic between them that makes their relationship that believable. And the whole film is just filled with iconic scenes. I mean, everything from the opening scene in the temple where he switches the statue for sand. You know, her having a shot drinking contest with that big guy.
And still walking fine afterwards and everything.
Yeah, definitely. It's just got so much iconic moments. Yeah.
Yes.
Throughout the entire thing, where like, you know, it's one of those movies that you could easily have memorized because everything's so memorable.
You can definitely take a scene out of any part of that movie and be like, bada bing, that's Indiana Jones. Like, even if he wasn't in it. Or just the moment itself, you're just like, that's Indiana Jones, boy. I just shook my whole body. I got a hot take for you.
Okay.
How many years after Star Wars did this come out?
The first Star Wars?
Yeah.
Let's find out. I think the first Star Wars was 77. 77. This is 81, so 4 years.
See, all right. So if I grew up back in the day, back in like, you know, if I was born in like 69.
Nice.
If I was born in like 69, my teenage years were growing up to Carrie Fisher and shit. I'm like, damn. Karen Allen, she would knock Carrie Fisher out of that spot for me if I was growing up in that age. That would be my lovely crush for the rest of my life right there.
Yeah, she's gorgeous in this and has a great personality.
And my favorite part is when they were down in the one tomb down there and there was just snakes everywhere. She just jumps on Harrison Ford's head, basically. Yeah. Like it was straight out of a cartoon. Like, I thought that part was just hilarious.
And I think
like you said, her personality was killer, and she looked great. And just Harrison and her just worked out so well together. It was pretty great.
I think that has more to say, you know, if we're going to really compare Marion with Princess Leia, that has more to say about the writing than it does Carrie Fisher's performance.
Yeah.
There's no denying that Carrie Fisher's not a great actress.
Yeah.
But Lawrence Kasdan is undoubtedly a better writer than George Lucas. That's why George Lucas
is killer for his ideas that he's got.
Yeah, he's great with stories. I don't think he's as great with the nuance of character and the little details, but he does have great ideas. But Lawrence Kasdan, I mean, he's been nominated for 4 Oscars. So all screenwriting. Oh no, 3 screenwriting, 1 is for Best Picture. So he is a well-known screenwriter, you know, one of the great screenwriters, and that is the biggest reason that I think her character is that much more charming than Princess Leia. Not because of Carrie Fisher's performance,
because she can hold her alcohol. So.
She can hold her alcohol, and then it's also like a lot of
she's real.
Oh yeah, a lot of people with their infatuation with Princess Leia most likely started with Return of the Jedi with that gold bikini.
Yeah. Whereas
Karen Allen as Marion, she kind of makes you become infatuated with her just by who she is. And she's got a great sense of humor. She's strong. She knows how to hold her liquor, if that's your thing. And she's just a well-rounded character. And you believe that her and Harrison Ford have this past.
Yeah.
And that
And they
he was...
they even say so throughout the movie, too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Dad always liked you, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah.
And you feel that there. Like, you feel it throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the score for a bit. We got some John Williams score. I was lucky enough to see an orchestra play the entire score live while accompanying the movie, and you don't realize until you see that how much little detail is put into scores. It kind of just sounds like this thing, but when you're actually watching the orchestra play it and seeing like certain instruments be picked up, others be put down at certain moments, and you hear like the lines throughout. Like I think the most notable thing, other than the Indiana Jones theme, is the theme for Marion, the romance theme.
Yeah.
That popped out, and it's just creates this wonderful, warm, bright world that even when terrible things are happening, there's hope in it, and it's just, it's one of those things where I personally think John Williams' old scores are outdated, but they do bring a certain amount of nostalgia.
Oh, for sure.
Where like they came in this time of this big fanfare, where I personally don't think that a big fanfare works most of the time anymore. It can. That's not to say that it can't, but it's often makes a film cheesier in today's age. Whereas in this movie, and like Star Wars, all of the other John Williams works, it creates this warmth and now looking back at it, a feeling of nostalgia.
Yeah, I think it also at times have late 70s, 80s, 90s, or 90s movies. 90s movies. Since that era's kind of changed a little bit. So we don't feel that same way like we're going to watch these types of movies and get that score. Like the whole dramatic tension of it all. You're not going to get another movie like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You're not going to get another movie like Jurassic Park. You're not going to get a movie like The Goonies, so on and so forth. Yeah, and it definitely works with Spielberg's style, and like those two are just such a duo that you're just getting that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with those old movies. Sorry.
And that style, I don't think has become outdated. I think it still holds up, but if films still try to accomplish that today, because these films are so famous, people would just kind of think that they're copying. So you like things nowadays really have to like create their own tone, and that's the evolution of everything. Everything needs to constantly change. We can't continue to have movies like the 80s and 90s. Everyone says that 80s and 90s movies are better. I don't think that's true at all. I think they all have equal great films and equal shit. Yeah. But we just don't have the time to the newer movies to know if they will withstand the test of time like we do movies that came out 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Well, it's funnily enough, that's why Ready Player One kind of worked so well, is because Spielberg kind of paved that way, really. Yeah. And then he made that movie. And then, of course, it worked with him because he kind of paved that way of doing it.
Kind of going off topic, Ready Player One, there's a lot of people that don't like it, and that's one of the rare movies where I just don't get why people wouldn't enjoy it at least a little bit.
I can understand it to a point, but that movie is actually just so good. So many like backdrop details too. Just going on.
Yeah, and I think people like to shit on derivative things a lot, and yes, Ready Player One is 100%.
In 2020?
Yeah, 100% derivative Ready Player One. That's kind of the point of that film, is to derive and create nostalgia, especially if you've read the book. The book is worse when it comes to that, in my opinion. Talking mostly about the scene where they go to the Shining hotel. In the book, it's one of the rare books that I've actually read. In the book,
I haven't. I still have to read it.
In the book, they straight up just play out the movie War Games, like line for line. You don't. It jumps, so you don't have to read the whole thing. But like his objective is to be Matthew Broderick's character in War Games and hit every line and every movement 100% correctly. It's more fun with how they did it in the movie with The Shining. But yeah, getting back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, it really does just hold up. You know, there's so many classic movies out there, even Spielberg movies that don't hold up as well as they should. But this is definitely one that I think will not really go anywhere. You know, it's going to be, you know, dare I say, it's going to be in talks 50 years from now with like Citizen Kane, Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life, just movies that everyone, for the most part, loves. And
for sure.
It absolutely deserves that, in my opinion.
I think the only thing that really, obviously, I don't even think it held up back then was the fighting scenes. But that's me nitpicking as hard as I can. Really.
Yeah.
And you can tell they aren't hitting their punches and stuff like that with the angles and such. But that's nitpicking 101. Here we are. Welcome. We're on the first page.
And for back then, this was a family movie. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like it's specifically.
Which was Temple of Doom the one that had to put the
PG-13
rating system?
Yeah, and you get it because I mean a guy gets his heart ripped out of his chest.
Yeah,
but
and this one there was a lot of blood. I'm like, this is.
Yeah, this is
before
this is before the PG-13 rating. I'm 90%
sure.
sure.
Been alive back then as a kid.
Oh yeah, there's just G, PG, and R.
Yep. Just watching people get chopped up by plane blades, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Have you seen the documentary about those kids who tried to make a shot-for-shot remake of this, and they only missed one scene before they graduated high school?
Oh no.
Okay. I think it's just called Raiders, but there's a documentary about these kids.
I did see it when I was looking up this movie on IMDb.
It's called Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made. These kids started in like middle school to make a shot-for-shot remake, and the only scene that they didn't do is the scene where the plane blows up.
Oh man!
And the fight scene where the guy gets chopped up by the plane.
Yeah.
And they come together like 20 years later, I think it is, to film that, and it's really compelling. I haven't seen the fan film. I know you can get it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it has like the blessing of Steven Spielberg and everything. It's not like they're being sued for it or whatever. But it's if anyone listening gets the chance, check out that documentary. It's a great film for like lovers of film, and it's a feel good movie, but also kind of sad because you see how people drift apart over the years.
Yeah, might have to check it out myself.
Yeah, it's great. Highly suggest that. But I don't really have anything else to say about Raiders.
Yeah, I think we stoked the fire as much as we could there.
Yeah, yes, we have. So, with that being said, let's move on to the judgment. Glenn, would you like to go first with the judgment? Might
as well, since this is all on my shoulders, you know.
Yes, it is.
Just like Karen Allen. I wish. I don't think there's really any naysaying about this. It's definitely a shelf boy. Definitely holds up, and I would love to see it in a theater if it came back with the classics.
Oh yeah, if it ever does come back.
I'm actually surprised it didn't come back when movie theaters opened up again as one of the classics. Like
if it ever does come back, you and I will go see it.
For sure.
I promise you that. But yeah, 100%. It's a shelf boy. It's a classic. It holds up. It's not overhyped in my opinion. If anything, it's underhyped. I wouldn't go that far, but if anything, it is underhyped.
Yeah.
So, Raiders of the Lost Ark becomes a shelf boy with the likes of Apostle and Handmaid.
I don't think that'll ever get old.
It will not get old. Not for me, at least.
There was going to be 100 movies on there. We'll still hit those two.
Yeah. And that brings us to our plugs for next week. Glenn, what is your plug for this week?
So mine's going to. My eyes needed some lovely things to see. Okay, so I looked up on YouTube. I was like, what are some of the most beautiful shots in movies? And you know what I got? The most beautiful shots in movie history, which was close, but here we are. That's going to be the channel, the Solomon Society. They've got about roughly 4 minutes of some of the best shots you've ever seen in movies.
Ooh.
Right now, I'm just sitting on one of the Star Wars ones. It's so pretty to look at.
Oh, I shall. Where can we find that again?
It's going to be the Solomon Society on YouTube. The most beautiful shots in movie history.
Fun. My plug for this week is a trailer for a TV show coming out that is produced in some way by A24. I'm pretty sure they've been plugging it on their Instagram page, so I can only assume that A24 is involved somehow. And that is for Moonbase 8, which is about...
Awesome
it's got Fred Armisen, Tim Heidecker, and John C. Reilly. They're all playing astronauts in training to try to go onto the moon, and they're kind of like this ragtag group that has been training to go on the moon for so long and have never been called up to go to the moon. And it's a comedy, obviously, with those three. And that is going to be on Showtime starting November 8th, and that is Moonbase 8, the trailer on Showtime's YouTube page.
Okay.
I just got a lot on the line here. I mean, I screwed up my whole life. That's why I need to get to the moon. When I go up to the moon, I'm a hero.
Well, I'm with you, Cap.
Let's show NASA that we know what we're doing. Our water tank is empty. I've started up the urine recycling machine.
That is very salty.
Welcome to Moonbase 8. This is a very valuable NASA research project.
Launch sequence beginning in 9, 8,
9,
7,
8,
6.
5.
Stand by, let's sync up.
4.
Abort.
3.
Abort. Stand by, Cap.
Launching.
No.
Yeah!
That is our plugs for this week. That brings us to our next week's film. But before I get into that, Halloween is coming up. It's spooky time.
Spooky season.
It's spooky time. And I'm not one for Halloween. I have a bad incident that happened in Halloween that makes me kind of not like
Understandable.
it. Long story short, when I was 12, I was 6 feet tall. This one neighbor refused to believe that I was 12 and wouldn't give me candy, even though I was in full costume. Moral of the story, just give people candy if they put in effort to wear a costume, or else you're going to get your house burnt down. Just kidding. I did not burn her house down.
Turned a little.
But I was very angry and still haven't really gotten over that because that is such a Karen bitchy thing to
fuck
do.
that person.
But for the next 2 cycles, one cycle is, my movie, Glenn's movie, Netflix Roulette. So for the next 2 cycles, we are going to be picking horror movies to get into this spoopy season. And with it being the last week in September, it's a good time to start that, just so we can start at the beginning of a cycle. My movie for next week is going to be a drama horror movie on Hulu that is called The Other Lamb. A girl born into an all-female cult led by a man in their compound begins to question his teachings and her own reality. It is directed by Malgorzata Sumowska.
It wouldn't be a movie unless you could barely pronounce the name.
It is written by C.S. McMullen. I know that name. It is starring Raffi Cassidy, Michelle Huisman, Mallory Adams, and Kelly Campbell, and that is on Hulu. And it looks spoopy as hell.
There once was a woman made of moonlight and teeth. She would roam in the woods, searching for something, hunting.
And he just kept telling me, you are perfect. You are accepted.
Oh, my shepherd, I need a deeper experience with you than I ever had before.
So beautiful, just like your mother's.
Come down upon me and fill me with yourself.
Let us pray. My wives, you all came to me broken by a cruel world. I took every one of you in. I sacrificed my life for you. I gave you daughters and sisterhood and life. Let us reflect on our blessings.
Yes, my shepherd.
You think that because you haven't had your time yet, that makes you special. Prepare yourself, child. Our great shepherd won't be so sweet on you then. I'll be seeing you when the blood comes to you.
Actually, I think I've passed this one on Hulu once or twice. So,
downside is it's got a 5-star rating on IMDb, but a 65 rating on Metacritic score. So it could go either way. Watching it, there was enough there for me to, take the risk, take the gamble, and hopefully we will enjoy it. So that is The Other Lamb on Hulu. All right, and that will do it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, you can check out our website, KeystoneFilmReview.com, on Instagram, Keystone_Film_Review, Twitter, Keystone_Film, Facebook, Keystone Film Review, YouTube, Keystone Film Review, and on Letterboxd, I'm Mike, KFR.
And I am Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we start the Spooptacular. We're going to watch spoopy movies.
So we're going to watch that spoopy shit.
So grab your popcorn, hold your puppers, and pray that the demons don't get you.
No, I'm kind of hoping they do.
Me too. Maybe. Hell seems a lot better than Earth right now.
Yes. I mean, it's basically here.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.